The rain had just started when Emily Parker, 27, sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel as if it could stop her heart from racing. She stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror, soft brown curls framing her anxious face, a touch of lip gloss she'd debated applying 3 times. Tonight wasn't just another date. It was her first one in almost 2 years, since the breakup that had crushed her confidence and left her doubting if she'd ever be enough for anyone again. Her best friend Megan had set it up. "He's kind, down to earth, I promise." "Just go, Em," she'd insisted. But now, parked outside the elegant restaurant with the golden lights shimmering through the windows, Emily wanted nothing more than to drive away. She finally gathered the courage to step inside. The hostess smiled. "Table for 2? Mr. Anderson's already waiting." Her stomach twisted. "He's early? Great." And then she saw him, tall, confident, maybe in his early 30s, dressed in a navy suit that probably cost more than her rent. His watch gleamed under the soft light, but his eyes, warm, calm, unexpectedly kind, met hers instantly. "Emily?" he asked, standing up. "Hi, I'm Daniel." His handshake was firm, his smile genuine, not the smirking, self-assured grin she'd expected from a CEO of a tech company she'd only heard about on LinkedIn. "Sorry, I'm a little late," she murmured. "You're right on time," he said softly. "I just got here early, too. Breathe, I get nervous about these things." She blinked, surprised, nervous. Him? Dinner started awkwardly. Emily fumbled with her napkin, dropped her fork, and nearly spilled her water. But every time Daniel laughed, not mockingly, but in a way that made her feel safe. When she accidentally called the server by the wrong name, he smiled and said, "Don't worry. I did the same thing last week. At least you didn't call them Mom like I did once." By dessert, she was laughing freely. Halfway through their chocolate mousse, the power flickered and went out completely. The restaurant filled with murmurs and the soft glow of phone flashlights. Daniel stood up. "Stay here. I'll check if everyone's okay." Before she could protest, he was already helping the staff light candles and calm the customers. He moved quickly but kindly, assuring an elderly couple, offering to carry plates so servers wouldn't trip. Emily watched, her heart swelling. He wasn't doing it for attention. No one even knew he was a CEO. He just cared. When the lights finally came back on, the restaurant erupted in cheers. Daniel returned to the table, brushing a bit of candle wax from his sleeve, and grinned. "Sorry," he said. "Couldn't just sit here." "You're not what I expected," Emily admitted. He tilted his head. "What?" Outside, the rain had stopped. Daniel walked beside Emily to her car, holding his jacket over her hair even though the drizzle had already faded to a mist. The streetlights reflected in the puddles, soft and golden, making everything feel suspended in a quiet, movie-like calm. When they reached her car, she turned to thank him, but he was already watching her with that same gentle expression from the restaurant, steady, kind, and without an ounce of pretense. "I had a really good time," he said. Emily smiled, brushing a damp curl from her cheek. "I did too. Honestly, I didn't think I'd last more than 15 minutes tonight." Daniel laughed softly. "Was I that intimidating?" "You're a CEO," she teased. "You probably have more important things to do than have dinner with a nervous teacher who nearly spilled water on you." "Emily," he said, his voice quiet but sincere, "the most important thing I've done in weeks was sit across from you and feel like I could breathe. No one's asked me about my favorite books or why I got into tech in the first place in years. You did." Her breath caught. There was something in his tone, something honest, vulnerable. She looked at him differently then, not as a CEO or some perfect stranger, but as a man who carried his own loneliness quietly, who just wanted to be seen for who he really was. 2 weeks later, she was back at the same restaurant, this time at his invitation. As she arrived, she found Daniel standing outside, holding a small white box. "I got you something," he said. Inside was a silver pen, engraved with her name. "I remember you said you loved journaling," he explained. "Thought you could use something a little more personal." She blinked back sudden tears. You remembered that? I remember everything that makes you smile, he said. They talked for hours again that night, about dreams, regrets, and how both of them had spent too long feeling like they had to be perfect for someone else. But with each story, each laugh, they realized something rare was forming between them, something built on kindness and simplicity. When they finally stepped outside, Daniel reached for her hand. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental. You know, Emily said softly, I almost canceled that first night. He smiled. Then I guess that would have been the worst business deal I never made. She laughed, and he joined her, the sound echoing down the quiet street. Months later, Emily would tell her students, without naming names, about the night she learned that sometimes people who seem untouchable are the ones who need connection the most. And sometimes, the thing you're most afraid of ends up being the moment that changes your life. Emily's fingers tightened slightly around her purse strap as she stepped inside. The restaurant was quiet, but elegant. Soft chatter, muted. Piano music, the faint scent of coffee and roasted garlic in the air. Her heels clicked softly against the wooden floor. Daniel stood by a corner table, rising the instant he saw her. His smile was warm, steady, not rehearsed. He extended his hand. You must be Emily, he said, his voice calm and low. She smiled nervously and shook his hand. And you must be Daniel. Sorry, I almost didn't find the place. Well, I'm glad you did, he replied. I was starting to think I'd be dining alone, and that would have been awkward. His easy humor earned a small laugh from her, the kind that helped her shoulders relax. She sat down, and for a moment the air between them felt surprisingly comfortable. The waiter brought menus, and Daniel waited until Emily opened hers first. So, he said, what do you teach again? English, high school level. Teenagers who think Shakespeare is a punishment. Daniel chuckled. I used to think that too, until someone told me he was basically the world's first screenwriter. Her eyes brightened. That's actually true. The conversation flowed more easily than either expected. Emily found herself laughing at Daniel's stories of failed business experiments and his first disastrous attempt at coding an app. He wasn't the rigid, self-assured executive she'd imagined. He was human. But still, that nervous flutter in her chest hadn't fully faded. Every so often she caught herself wondering, what's a man like him doing with someone like me? Halfway through the meal, she accidentally knocked over her glass of water. The sound was small but sharp. Ice cubes scattered across the tablecloth. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, she said, mortified. But Daniel just grinned, already reaching for napkins. Don't worry, you should have seen me last week. I dropped an entire cup of coffee on my laptop in front of my team. She blinked, surprised at how lightly he brushed it off. No frustration, no embarrassment, just kindness. See? He added playfully. Now we're even. Emily laughed, and for the first time in a long while, it was genuine, unfiltered. Then, as if on cue, the lights flickered. Once, twice, and then went completely out. Gasps and murmurs filled the restaurant. Someone dropped a fork. A phone flashlight clicked on. Emily froze for a second, looking around uncertainly, but Daniel was already on his feet, his phone flashlight glowing faintly. Hey, it's okay, he said softly. Stay here, I'll check what's going on. He moved quickly, helping the staff light candles, talking calmly to nearby guests, making sure everyone stayed comfortable. Watching him in that quiet, chaos, steady, composed, and selfless, Emily felt something shift inside her. He wasn't just charming, he was good. When the power finally returned, Daniel came back, a faint smudge of candle wax on his sleeve. Everything okay? She asked. He smiled. I think the restaurant survived, though I did promise one couple free dessert, so I might be in trouble. They both laughed, and the tension that had hung between them earlier seemed to dissolve completely. By the end of the night, when Daniel walked her to her car, the drizzle had returned. He shrugged off his suit jacket and held it above her head until they reached the door. You didn't have to, she began. I know, he